StreamYard.
Yeah, it's StreamYard. We are live, gentlemen, and there are links that we have that you can share with everyone, so they can check you out as you're answering these wonderful questions. Because there'll be answers or questions that you guys are going to receive, and everyone wants to hear you guys answer your questions. It is Friday, everyone. Jason, it is always my pleasure, brother, to be in your presence and listen to your wonderful questions. I'm always taking notes. I'm not an expert in real estate by no stretch of the imagination, so I'm always learning, and this is always a pleasure for me. I'm a kid in the candy store. However, tomorrow is Saturday, and tomorrow morning we're going to have No One Left Behind again. The webinar is going down at 8 a.m. Arizona time, and so I'm going to put a link to that in the chat so that everyone can be included into that good information. Justin, how you doing, brother? You good? You ready to go?
I'm doing great.
Good. I know Ben is ready. You got the hat on backwards. Ben, hold on. I got a question, brother. Ben. Is that really your background, man? Like, is that your view? Is that what we're doing?
It is. Yep.
Oh my God, man.
Downtown Dallas.
Wow, man. Okay, a rich man with a hat on backwards. Okay, I'm gonna get your phone number, brother.
I should have put some nicer clothes on. I was at the gym. I got it's either that or hat hair. I don't know.
No. You look very relatable. I like this. I have a t-shirt on today too. Morby Media, brother. No, you're good.
Yeah.
Well, without any further ado, I'm gonna let you guys jump into it. I'll be in the back. You guys take care and have a good time.
Thank you. Appreciate you. And of course, thank you for the opportunity to host this. I always love doing this because, Justin and Ben, people like you have some amazing stories to share. They need to be heard. A little bit about me. My name is Jason Bates. I'm a real estate investor, Subto student, Gator student, top tier TC. I am the founder and CEO of Venture Vibes Fund, where we raise private capital for buying RV parks and other vacation type multifamily properties. And I'm also co-owner of Finish Line TC Services. But of course, we're not here to talk about me. We're here to talk about some amazing deals that Ben and Justin have done. It's really cool. So we've got two amazing guests here, and they've got their own deals within their own rights. And so I'm going to have the opportunity to bounce back and forth and kind of let you guys see how each of you have been on this real estate adventure. So I'm excited to get going. So Ben, I'll go ahead and start with you. What did you do before you got into real estate or before you joined Subto?
I was door-to-door salesman, still kind of am, but full-time real estate now. So I graduated from University of Oklahoma 2 years ago. So I got into smart home and security sales my junior year of college, and then did really well that summer. I did it to try and get into real estate. So my senior year, I actually bought my first property and still own it as a Airbnb. So that was my start. And then we switched over to sell solar after I graduated.
Very nice. I love it.
Then transitioned into wholesale the following year.
Gotcha. That sounds like a pretty good transition where you can kind of build those skills on your way up the ladder. Justin, what about you? What did you do before you got into real estate?
Yeah, so I mean, I still kind of consider myself a weekend investor, right? So I actually just wrapped up a 20-year military career in April. So that's kind of how I got into real estate originally, right? Obviously, being in the military, you move around every few years. So, we'd buy a house, we'd have to move a couple of years. So basically default landlord, right? So kind of repeated that a couple times. And then last year, I actually joined Subto because I was trying to figure out ways I could kind of scale our portfolio. And so I kind of do that on the side, right? When I can, nights, weekends, things like that. I've actually transitioned. Now I'm a civil servant in the federal government. So, try to do as much as I can with the free time when I'm not actively engaged in my normal line of work.
I love that. And first of all, thank you for your service. I've come across, as a TC, I've come across several active duty military that are doing just like you are. They're buying and selling real estate, when they're not, actively serving their country and they have some downtime. And, I spent a lot of time in Colorado Springs where you've got the Air Force and the Army there. And like you said, every 2 to 4 years, there's just a big change of people. And a lot of those people either don't know how to be a landlord or don't know what to do next. And so being able to understand what you can do with real estate is very powerful.
Yeah, we actually have a house in Colorado Springs. So second house we ever bought. Yeah. Love it. Love the area. I mean, it's appreciated, greatly since we've had it. So yeah, I love that area.
It is a really good growing community. I will tell you in the last 3 to 4 months, It's gone down because I was trying to sell an asset there, but I just decided, okay, well, I'll just put it on the rental market for another year and we'll try again next year. Same with the property I have in Pueblo. It's just in Colorado, the market's finally adjusting, and it's just, in real estate, we really don't lose money because we're not going to sell on the downturn. So I'll just wait another year. It's a good time for rentals with interest rates being high and people just waiting to decide whether or not they want to buy a house. So rentals are great, especially in a military town.
Didn't mean to interrupt, but that was my first summer of sales was in Colorado Springs and Pueblo. So
it was meant to be.
It's a good place to sell security systems, in case anyone was wondering.
And it's funny you say that because when I bought that property Subto in Pueblo from a vendor who wanted to move his family back to Utah, and he didn't have any equity in it because, of course, he bought it VA, and so I did buy it subject to, and I put $10K in his pocket so that he could move his family back home, and he had a full security system on his property. So
was it Vivint?
I'm not sure the brand, to be honest with you, but I do remember that he had security cameras and touchpads all around the place. So
probably was. I might have sold them. Who knows?
Could have. Yeah, I love it. Well, with that said, Ben, what made you decide to join the community?
Just trying to figure out how to buy properties and scale. I mean, I was always listening to podcasts and real estate. And I bought that first property. I got recruited to sell door to door by a guy that was a real estate investor. Didn't know it at the beginning, but the first property I bought, I had to co-sign with a family member and then basically did the whole Airbnb route. And I was doing a 1099 sales job. So I didn't know how I was going to qualify with basically only commission checks and no work history or credit. So that's how I came across, subject to PACE, all that. And after finishing the second year doing solar, saved up a good amount of money. So I just was like, all right, I need to figure out how I can do this without going to the bank.
Yeah, that's a fun feeling when you come to that realization that you have a solution that doesn't require the bank to be involved. That was my big aha moment. I don't have to go to the bank. I don't have to have tax returns and pay stubs and the birth certificate of my firstborn. I don't need any of that to buy a property creatively. Okay, sign me up. What about you, Justin? What made you decide to join the community?
I mean, it was almost kind of like a New Year's resolution. In 2023, I wanted to invest more in real estate just because I had seen the benefits that it had done for our family just by buying and holding. I mean, I think the smartest thing I ever did is I never sold, right? And I just appreciated in value, was able to increase rents. And I'm like, okay, it's, we've proven this concept. We like it. Just how do I do more of it? And of course, then you start running up against, things like big down payments and, rising interest rates. And so with the current interest rate, I mean, it's hard to cash flow. It's just like a traditional long-term. And so it's like, well, how do you make that work this day and age? And then, I found Subto and I was like, wow, okay, I think this works. And so I did. I kind of just took a leap of faith and like, let's give it a shot and just kind of go with it. And it's, we've had success with it and I love it.
Perfect. So how did you find your deal?
So this one actually, it actually got brought to me by a colleague who's also in Subto, Cindy Daniel. So it was actually an old colleague of hers. Cindy's a traveling nurse. And so this seller was another traveling nurse who had kind of fallen on hard times, was having trouble, maintaining the property and keeping up on the payments and whatnot. So Cindy had brought it to me as a potential opportunity because Cindy hadn't done a deal yet. So she needed someone that kind of showed her how to do things. And I had done a few under my belt at that point. So I was like, yeah, let's give it a shot. And so that's originally how we found the lead is Cindy brought it to me. And, we jumped on a 3-way call with the seller just to explain everything and make sure that she was comfortable with it. And she wanted to move forward with it. And that's how we got it.
Nice. Ben, how did you find your deal?
Just knocking on the door. It was actually my brother, I believe, that knocked it. And he left a note and then called the note. She called back from the note sometime late in the night. And we called her probably 15 times. She didn't answer. And then finally she picked up and I went over there, I think the next day, and met her at the house and closed it down.
Perfect. So it sounds like it was a foreclosure type situation.
Yep. Yeah. She was facing foreclosure probably 3.5 weeks away whenever we showed up and got it under contract. Yeah, it was just an auction that was coming up. Her husband passed away, and then she inherited or she'd been making payments on the property until that year. So she fell behind, and there were some issues with airship and everything else we had to figure out too. But
Right. Well, and that's one of the things I like about this community in creative finance. You're literally helping to save people in situations like this. So you want to go in a little bit more detail about this deal and how you helped them and what you ended up doing as an exit strategy?
Absolutely. Yeah. So she was just living that property. You know, I think her husband passed like maybe 5 years ago. And she assumed since they were married, they bought the house in his name and they were just common law married. And then they decided as he started to get sick, let's get married so that she could inherit the house. And they didn't realize that he needed a will. So he had a bunch of siblings and he was much older than a lot of them. And they all lived in different areas. So once he passed, it went half to her and half to his siblings because he didn't have a will. And so the mortgage company wouldn't communicate with her. And then she couldn't order the payoff. She couldn't get the deed fully into her name to sell. She tried to sell 2 years ago and couldn't do it. So I was like, hey, I'll figure out who these siblings are. She didn't have their contact information. Probably hadn't heard from them in 20 years. So it was I didn't know if it'd really work. I was like, I'll make contact with them. We went to True People Search. We went to Facebook, found the 2 siblings that we needed, got a hold of one of them pretty easily. And then he finally, after like a week, got us in touch with his sister. And luckily, they were nice people. Just got them to sign the deed over to her. They didn't even know that he passed. It was pretty sad. I guess they were never that close, and there was a big age gap. So got the deed signed over into her name about 5 days before the foreclosure, and then closed like 3 days before the foreclosure.
And did you keep it? Did you wholesale it? What did you end up doing with it?
We actually flipped this one. So we do a lot of wholesales. I've purchased probably 10 properties subject to that we do rentals or wraps with. But this one was just, it was a pretty cheap house. Didn't need much repairs. It was just a little bit dated. So we got it at 100,000. She made a good amount of money too. Luckily she had a lot of equity because they've been there forever. And we put 35 grand into it. So we used a private money lender, and the ARV was about 225. So we were expecting to put it on the market for 225, but the neighbor that tried to buy it 2 years prior walked over, and 70% of the way done with the flip, they said, we'll buy it right now, cash. So we gave it to them for 200.
Very nice.
And we were in about 135.
200, and then you didn't even have to finish the flip at that point.
Nope. Yeah, it was, I'd say 75% of the way done. So just a little bit of holding costs and private money, and then got it sold. We didn't have to put, realtor commissions, but we sold it at a little bit less, but saved on the repairs and the commissions.
Yeah, but more importantly, you saved that woman's credit. You helped her solve a problem. You had an opportunity to help. Obviously, that guy had been looking at that place. He must be another investor, and so you gave him an opportunity as well.
Yeah, they own like a roofing company. They do some rentals. I think they just wanted to have it next to their family, really. So it's pretty cool. They have 2 houses next door to each other now.
Nice. I love that. Justin, what about you? Tell me about your deal. What kind of deal was it? How'd you get into it? What was your exit strategy?
Yeah, so it was kind of difficult because it was Tyler, Texas, which I don't live in Tyler. I live in Northern Virginia, and Cindy, my partner on the deal, she lives in Alabama. So it was all virtual basically. The issue was it was kind of like outside the city limits in a subdivision of about 50 houses, and you couldn't really get accurate comps because nothing in that subdivision had sold in like 3 or 4 years. So we're like really struggling to figure out like what the ARV is, what we could resell it for potentially. Kind of reached out to some agent friends, kind of got their analysis, but ultimately decided what we wanted to do is just do a subtail, right? Just buy it, clean it up a little, do some very basic repairs, and then just relist it on the MLS that way. We thought that was the best opportunity to get, my eyes on it, marketing, things like that. So that's ultimately what we did. So we closed on the house February 1st. It took us a little under a month to get it cleaned up, right? Had to get cleaners in there. We did have to do some basic repairs. So I'd gotten an inspection done on it before we bought it. There was a little damage, but nothing crazy. So really just did a deep cleaning, got photos done, used a flat fee service to get it listed on the MLS. And I think we had like 2 showings, but we had it on contract to sell within a week. I think it was like 4 or 5 days to a first-time home buyer using an FHA loan. So it was my first time attempting something like that, especially being virtual. And there was a lot of uncertainty because I honestly didn't know, what the house was worth. Ultimately we thought the ARV was maybe like 235, 240. We kind of listed it to sell, 199.9, and we got a full price offer with some concessions. They wanted some help with the closing costs, which were, amenable to. But yeah, ultimately was able to close on it. It took a little longer to close than we anticipated. And I talked about this on the podcast, but I didn't know about the FHA flipper rule, right? So there has to be a 90-day cure period. I'm sorry, seasoning period between the time you buy it and the time you resell it. So I didn't know that. The realtor didn't realize it until about a week before we're supposed to close. So ultimately, we had to extend closing by 2 or 3 weeks. So increased our holding costs a little bit. But since we had bought it subject to, we're just making the payment, so it wasn't anything crazy. But yeah, then ultimately we were able to close on it in early May, and me and Cindy were able to split a nice profit on it.
Yeah. So for those people that are new to the community, give a quick synopsis of what a subtail is.
Yeah, so really it's you buy the property outright subject to, so you are now the new owner. Your name or your entity goes on the deed. But it's not a flip because you're not really investing into the property to redo the flooring and repaint it. It's really you're buying it off market, you're owning the asset, and then you're immediately putting it on market. So you're putting on the MLS, which is where the most retail buyers go, people that buy houses to live in. They hire realtors, and then you basically just sell it conventionally, right? So our buyers had went and got an FHA backed mortgage through a traditional bank and purchased it outright, that way.
Yeah, and the beauty was you obviously priced it right because went through underwriting, got the appraisal and all that, and they got funded. So what did the seller get anything from it, or they just needed to get rid of the property?
No, they did. Yeah, no, they got a decent amount of money. So it was kind of a mess, in that she had fallen. This wasn't the first time she had fallen behind on payments. She had to go through a loan mod, and it was FHA. So loan mods on government backed loans are a little more favorable to get, because I don't think the government really wants people to lose their houses, at least especially on mortgages they back. So she had gotten a loan mod a couple of years prior, so there was a lien on that. And then she was in the middle of another loan mod because she had gotten through again. So there were multiple liens on the property. Ultimately we were able to give her, I think it was about $10,000. So she got something that she could use to basically, she wanted to, move and find a new place to live and basically just get out of the burden of having to make payments and maintain that property, which she had fallen behind on.
Gotcha. So, how was the community involved with this transaction? It sounded like you used somebody from Subto. Did you use anybody from Gator, anybody from Top Tier TC? Was there anybody else involved?
No, really, it was just me and Cindy, right? So it was me and Cindy, and it's not like she was like in the corner like a fly on the wall. She was actively engaged in the process. So really, I put her in charge of basically getting the property up to par enough to where we could list it, right? So she had found some repair services to get the repairs done and the cleaning and things like that. She actually went to the property. So what had happened is the original cleaners we had hired, and I had scheduled them in advance, they got to the property and they're like, you know what, this isn't what we quoted you for. It's going to be a bigger job than we anticipated, which I'm like, that's fine. But they said, oh, by the way, we don't have room on our schedule to do that type of cleaning now. Our next appointment's in 2 weeks. And that really kind of messed with our timeline. So as I was trying to find a new cleaning service, Cindy was like, you know what, I'm just going to go up there and get started on the cleaning. I'm going to take a couple of days off work. She drove up there, did the best she could. Kind of did a clean out because the seller had left some things behind that we hadn't agreed to. I think there was a mattress and some other things. So she really took care of getting the property, like I said, up to par and ready for photographs so we could list it. But really it was just me and her. I mean, I'm kind of a go-getter. And so I was like, well, I also like a challenge. So I was like, I really kind of want to do this on my own and see if I can and get it done. And, we were able to. So it was pretty satisfying in that way.
Love it. Ben, how about you? How is the community involved with your deal?
My brother and we pretty much partner on everything now, but yeah, it was us two, and then we actually just used a private money lender from like personal connections, but yeah, it was just mainly us, and then hunting down. We used some we have a partner on our team for disposition that we kind of helped try and locate those siblings, and then I ended up getting in touch with them, but that was the hardest process right there, just getting all that ready to find them.
Probably had a crash course in skip tracing, I bet.
Simple, actually. Just the classic True People search works. I mean, one of them didn't have a phone number, so I actually got in touch with the sister through email, and she emailed me back, which was pretty cool. Took her a while to get back on the phone, but yeah, True People search and Facebook.
Perfect. So how would you say Subto has impacted your life?
It's definitely opened up my whole, perspective on what's needed, how quickly you can, I guess, achieve something and scale in real estate. I probably had a goal of buying one property a year when I was in sales, and I've already hit that goal in a year because of being able to buy property Subto. So definitely just leveraging, private money, networking, and I think just investing in yourself, because if you can get around one connection, one phone call, one deal has opened up doors for infinite after that, where most people are trying to figure it all out themselves.
And that's a good point. I think people forget when they invest in something like this, where you learn something, you become part of a community. Really what you do, you are investing in yourself. And, it's really powerful when you do, because it opens a lot of doors that you didn't think was possible. And of course, you learn there's all kinds of ways to buy real estate that you didn't even think was even feasible.
Of course, yep.
Justin, what about you? How would you say Subto has impacted your life?
I mean, I really think it's really kind of forced me to think outside the box, right? Before, I would say 18 months ago, I only knew how to buy real estate the traditional way, right? Go to a bank, do a full doc loan, tax returns, pay stubs, all that's, I thought that was literally the only way you buy houses. And then I found this community, I was like, holy smokes, there's almost an infinite way to buy properties. And so it really kind of forced me to kind of think outside the box and, quite frankly, be creative, right? Because there's so much that goes on with real estate that's outside of the mainstream, that people that don't, they thought, like I did a year and a half ago, that there's only one way to skin a cat, race, basically. So really it is that, and it kind of empowered me to try new things. I mean, I've wholesale deals, I've done a subtail. Before I was only a long-term rental investor. Now I do furnished rentals, short-term, mid-term, things I didn't even think I was capable of doing 2 years ago. So I really do think it's just kind of forced me outside my comfort zone, give me the confidence to take on new challenges that I wouldn't have prior to.
Yeah. Now, would you say what you learned from this community kind of triggered you to say, hey, I'm at the point now where I can retire from the military and this is a good transition for me? Or were you already looking to exit before that?
Oh no, I was already, I already knew that I was, that was it for me. It was 20 years, right? So that's the light at the end of the tunnel, right? You're basically your pension vests. You're able to start drawing from it. So I already knew that, but I didn't realize that post my military career, real estate was going to be such a big part, I guess, of like my new identity, right? Because long-term rentals, it's the most passive, right? You get a tenant in there for a year. You normally don't hear from them that much if they're paying on time, right? There might be 1 or 2 repairs a year, but it's kind of out of sight, out of mind. But now I'm actively engaged, right? Especially because I've got more turnover with my guests, right? I'm dealing with problems on a weekly basis. So it is a far more active part of my life than I had previously thought it was going to be.
Yeah. I've really had really good luck with, managers who manage my short-term rental, because like you said, it is a lot of work, a lot of turnaround, and it's just, I want to focus my time on other things. And so that has really opened up a lot of things for me. So that's huge. So what would you say is on deck for you, Justin? What's up next?
So I truly do consider myself a buy and hold investor. That's what I like to do. But I mean, this won't stop me from, doing active, transactions in real estate. So for instance, like this one in Tyler, right? I had no desire to hold it, right? I'm not, I'm not near Texas. I'm kind of trying to consolidate my portfolio than have all these little outliers. So, I've wholesale deals as well. So if there's something that doesn't fit my personal buy box, I have no problem, dispoing it to somebody else that does fit their buy box. So really it's just, to continue to grow. I'm really loving the midterm and probably midterm more than short term, just because there is less turnover. So it's a little less headache. When you've got guests coming in and out every 2 to 3 days, it can be a lot. So it's really just continuing to scale. I'm not trying to over leverage myself. I'm not trying to take too much at once. But I'm trying to be aggressive. So I'm not trying to, sit on the sidelines. And so that's it. Just continue to grow the portfolio and kind of out improve the trajectory of me, for my family, basically.
Yeah, that's a powerful why, by the way, is including your family.
Yeah.
So awesome. Ben, what about you? What's on deck for you?
I think being able to get into it full time was the goal originally. So I was already doing, commission based sales, so it wasn't a huge difference, just a new business, but definitely just long term. I want to hold all the good ones. So we naturally, my brother and I pretty much run our own little wholesale operation. So that's takes up all of our time, but hold on to the good ones for the long-term wealth, which is what we've been able to do, and just partner up. And we've kind of tried to create our own little community of, deal finders and help other people get into it. A lot of guys that were in sales with us previously, people that, didn't realize that they could purchase properties this way too, especially if they're 1099. So helping a lot of people get into deals like that.
Yeah, I like that, because there's a lot of videos on YouTube on how to wholesale, and sometimes you're watching these videos and you think you know what it takes to wholesale, and you're just missing the mark, or unfortunately you get somebody's property under contract and you realize, oh, I haven't found an end buyer. So having people like you that have experience in wholesaling, and you're doing it right, and you're protecting the seller, and you're teaching people how to do this, that's really powerful. I'm glad to hear things like that are happening.
Appreciate it.
So what would you say to someone who's on the fence about joining this community?
Is this a question for me?
Yeah.
I'd say just I think if you have the resources, like, I don't know, some people are put your back against the wall, invest in yourself, do all that, which I think some people might have the personality for that. I think it's also smart to make sure you're in a comfortable spot, but yeah, think about the network. You can get information everywhere, and it's more about, what you have on hand and the help that you can get, and the relationships that are going to take you way farther. So I just want to have the ultimate network. It sounds like one of those things that's cliche, but it's the reason we've had a lot of success, is just because I have things at my fingertips that I know I can get, and makes me confident to, go move forward.
Yeah. And I've said this at several of these lives, it is amazing to have a community of people on your phone that you could call and ask for something, and before you finish your sentence, they say, how can I help? And you can't put a price on that. And so for me alone, just the community alone was worth the investment in myself, and which is why I always like the opportunity to be able to get back. So awesome. I love that. Justin, what about you? What would you say to someone who was on the fence about joining this amazing community?
So I would say it's going to be a lot of work, right? It's not easy. Don't expect instant gratification, but you are going to have the support of the community behind you. You're not going to be out there, by yourself, trying to learn everything on your own, the hard way. But, the one thing I do notice is, and maybe it's, just, I don't know, sentiment these days, but, everyone wants instant gratification, right? They want to hit the easy button. So I don't want people to join Subto thinking the second I join, I'm just going to have instant success. Like, there still is a lot of work to be done. And you got to be resilient. You got to put in the time, you got to put in the effort. And quite frankly, you just got to keep showing up, because there's going to be days when you're just like, I don't want to do this right now. I don't want to face more rejection, but I mean, it's part of life. You can't be the smartest person in the room all the time. So that's what I would say. I would say it's going to be a hard journey, but you're going to have help. Yeah,
I will tell you that nobody sold me on the fact that this was going to be easy. That's for sure. and that's okay, right? I mean, there are easy aspects to real estate, and there are easy deals that do come across, but that is only after, like you said, you put in the work, you do the heavy lifting, and you give back to the community, right? I find that the more I give back, here's what I've learned, and I learned this from teaching martial arts, is I became a better student once I became a teacher. So once I could start helping somebody and teaching somebody different aspects, it made me a better student. I could ask better questions. I can perform better. And so I try to do that in this community too. So like you said, if anybody's willing to ask for help, because it takes a lot of courage for that, I'm always happy to do that. And it sounds like something you guys are open to as well. So with that said, Justin, what's the best way for people to connect with you?
Yeah, probably it's just through IG. So my handle's there, MurphJills83. I know it's a little goofy, but I've had it for a long time, so I guess it's sentimental. I know it's not like super professional, but that's probably the easiest way. Just send me a DM. You know, I check IG pretty regularly, so I'll get back to anybody that reaches out to me.
I can promise you that name is not easy to forget. What about you, Ben? What's the best way for people to get a hold of you, especially if they want to get into wholesaling?
I think Instagram as well. It's probably the most active. Facebook. I think a lot of people in the real estate communities are on Facebook. I for some reason, Facebook's harder to reach. They hide all those messages, and I get a million friend requests. But Instagram's a little better. And then we recently started like YouTube and some other things. So you can find that through the Instagram though.
I love that. I appreciate you guys. I love doing these because I love hearing the stories. But more importantly, I know we've said over and over that this isn't easy. But when you guys come on and talk about this stuff, it seems easier, and that's really powerful. So I appreciate you guys' time and energy, and I know everybody watching appreciates it as well.
Appreciate you.
Yeah,
we appreciate you big time, baby. Yes. Ben, I've been just staring at your window the whole time. I'm just gonna be honest, okay? I've been just staring at the window, like, is that really his view? I don't believe him, but it's okay. I gotta trust my man, dude. You guys had a good time? Jason took good care of you?
Yeah,
yes,
great time.
Yes.
Yeah, this was fun.
Awesome, gentlemen. And as always, if you are in the chat and you want to be the next Ben and Justin that's on here being asked tons of questions, and you have ice water in your veins and you're not nervous about nothing that Jason is shooting at you, and you want to tell your story and talk about your wins, your losses, how you overcame these amazing deals that God has blessed you with, please email Taya at pacemorby.com. It's in the chat. It's TAYA. In fact, let me put it here. There it is, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen. Taya at pacemorby.com. Please give her an email. She will get everything set up for you. We want to hear your stories. There are people here who have a lot of questions, and to have you on the show answering those questions would be a blessing for both the community, of course, and for me, obviously. But Ben, thank you so much. Justin, my man, thank you so very much for being here with us. And as always, Jason, thank you so much. Jason, real quick, I know you're the multi-fi single family. Like, Jason is the guy. He's so humble, but he doesn't really flex like I would if I was him.
Well, the show isn't about me. It's about, people like Justin. So
true. Yeah, I get it, man. I really get it. I've never been inside of a community where there's so many millionaires and people that have huge bags, but they're so unassuming. This is like an average guy, like Ben up here with the hat backwards. Ben, I'm gonna keep giving you a hard time. I'm sorry, bro. I'm so sorry, man. But dude, it's such a blessing, you guys. Thank you so much for being on the show. And look forward to seeing you guys next time. By the way, real quick, were any of you guys at Squad Up this year? Were you guys at Squad Up?
No, I was not.
No? Okay. Yeah, you guys, next Squad Up that comes around, because we're working on it now, you got to be there. That was my first introduction to the community. I fell in love. I have a whole bunch of new brothers and sisters and nephews and nieces. It's amazing, guys. So, yeah, you guys truly look forward to that. We'll have some information on that later, though. Definitely.
Appreciate it.
I love it.
All right, gentlemen. Okay, so you guys have a good one. Take care.
Thank
Those
you.
in chat, we love you guys. Stay connected with us. Have a good weekend.
You too.
Thanks.
Thanks.